Next. Hey, week 2. So, my next read is Death at Morning House, and this is for my Art of Illusion, which I found the bookmark for, so I can actually use it. I have already started this, and I desperately needed an audiobook for like the cleaning and cooking activities, and this is the only viable option for me from like the remaining, kind of. So it had to be this. And boy, am I so happy with that, because the audiobook, to me, which, you know, everyone has different preferences. I normally don't like it when they act it out as much, but this one does act out quite a lot with the tone and the characters. But I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the humorous tone, maybe it's the kind of semi-self-deprecating humor in this. I adore it. It's such a delight. I'm having such a good time with it. For the first 20 pages, I just like listened to it fairly slowly when I was cooking, and then I picked it up to read another 100 pages like alongside. So it was like fully immersed experience during Patreon sprints. I'm just having such a good time. The book follows our main character, oh my god, what's her name? Marlowe. The main character, Marlowe, who has this big crush on another girl that she works with and basically manages to get her on a date, but it goes a little bit wrong because the candle explodes, and in this house that she was supposed to be like kind of house sitting, it gets set on fire. So then she's kind of grabbing the opportunity that she has offered by her history teacher, summer job away from the town, because she doesn't really want to deal with all of the speculations and like haha are into arson now. So she kind of runs away onto this like island where this house is that was now bought by someone, but it's being turned into a semi-museum, and the museum needs people to host guides for. And the rest of the people is like a bunch of teens who grew up together, so she is the kind of outsider coming in. So they already have their dynamics, they're all very kind of welcoming, but they have their own quirks and differences, and the characters are already very easy for me to tell apart, which is fantastic. And I also just really like her narration, like not the audiobook, like the overall main character, because it is first person. And then on the other side, we constantly swap to the olden times. It's not that old, to be honest. I mean, it's not old. 1932 is the year where we follow the actual original family that did live here. What kind of transpired? There's like a bunch of children that were adopted. I want to say like 5, and then the 6th kid of this person, this father that was like biological, and it starts off quite like soft and then gets into a little bit more this is not as nice as it seems. I don't know if it's mentioned in the synopsis, so I don't want to say. I'm not far in, to be honest. I'm only like 112 pages in, so, but you know, it's not like a ginormous book, so I don't want to say in case it is a spoiler. I really enjoy the humor in this. I've never read anything by Maureen Johnson. I know that Truly Devious was really popular when I started book 2, but I just never got to it. Having a fantastic time with this. Not like 5-star fantastic, but like actually can't wait to go back and read this. Fantastic. I have a nail appointment later today. I'm hoping to do like a little autumnal palette, so to really transition this summer to autumn feel for us. And I'm semi-tempted to ask the nail tech if it would be maybe, perhaps okay to be a little bit antisocial and for me to just put like an audiobook on to preserve my own like peace of mind and social battery. I'll see if that would be okay. Sometimes she's very keen on doing that as well, so that could work out pretty well, and I'm very happy to have this because it's this kind of contemporary setting as well that doesn't take too much of focus to be into the story, but it's a completely new story to me, so of course still fun and exciting. It has also a map, which is always fun. So this is like the island. Just having a good time. I could not be more pleased with how this semester is going so far, so fingers crossed it continues, but I have a good feeling that I'm gonna be able to actually get through this very soon and then hop into the next one, but I almost don't want it to end because it's just like, I don't know, fun. This week has just not been the best reading-wise, however, enjoyment-wise, it's been great. Just like the amount of reading time and energy I've had, not so much. I was really hopeful in the first like 7 days of the new medicine dose that I might just like actually coast this one, but I forgot that last time I increased it as well. the kind of the brunt of it didn't happen until later on, and I'm currently on day like 9 or something. Really feeling it. I'm so exhausted. I have brain fog. The fatigue is fatiguing, and overall just like not fantastic. On top of that, I just still have the pain. It's not doing anything for it, but we wouldn't expect to know until like later. I know that I probably will have to like increase it further and then go through this again until I'm either it's gonna work or I am allowed to. Well, I'm always allowed to, but like reasonably expected to then like call it quits. Whatever, you know what, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the book. So I have made good progress on this one and I am hoping to finish it today. So that is obviously a positive. It's just for us knowing which day it is in the readathon. We're still okay because the first week I finished 3 reads and 3 classes. And this week is clearly just going like 1 book in 1 class, but that's also okay because I'm having a really good time. I am here, so I am almost done with this as well. I do have some obviously like non-spoilery my experience type of like notes to make because in a very, very unexpected turn of events, I started enjoying the past POV more than the present. And this, I kid you not, pretty much never happens. I am always more keen towards a contemporary setting in these type of books. Overall, I'll always take future over the past. In any book, really, but I really started enjoying the past bits. I feel like we gotten much more intrigue there. The tone was a little bit spookier compared to some bits in the current one, which again is like completely fine because it's very balanced in that sense. I've just really been enjoying that. I've fallen out of the kind of current day POV a little bit, and I still think the audiobook is like fantastic and very well done. I will say that there's a character that I thought was done like a little bit like, and this is like the risk you take with the more performative audiobooks, because again they do perform, and if you just don't love how one of the characters is performed and then that character turns out to be quite like important, and so then it becomes a little bit tricky, doesn't it? Sorry, my hair was driving me nuts. Unfortunately, that is kind of what happened. The girl that turned out to be a bit more of a romantic interest and also overall important for the plot, because they kind of like team up in the whole let's solve what's happening situation sometimes, and at the moment I think it's kind of better, or I might have just gotten used to it, or it's just like a little bit less extreme in the narration, but for a good portion of it, it sounded almost like a milder version of Lola from Big Mouth. So if you've seen Big Mouth, you'll know what I mean, and then you'll know why I would struggle to take it seriously, and it kind of did disappoint me in that sense, because it was just really hard for me to like override that if I was listening alongside of reading or just whilst doing things, because I was listening while I was driving in the car yesterday. There's a couple of murders in the current time, and then there's a couple of murders in the previous time, like the earlier days. So we kind of like solve a couple, and that's actually quite fun. I enjoyed this kind of approach. Because then if you lose interest in one of the murder, don't feel as involved in the other one, you have plenty of other ones to pick from. So I quite enjoyed it, and it's also like a fun parallel, and then we can kind of like blame the house, although like for some reason I thought that this is going to have a fantastical like kind of supernatural element to it. This is a contemporary. There's nothing supernatural going on, which is not a spoiler, by the way. This is just like something that I misunderstood in my own brain, because I was expecting it to have like a fantasy element, but it does not. It doesn't set up to be that way. It doesn't hint anywhere that it would be, so that was completely just my ass constantly being used to reading fantasy or stuff with fantasy elements that I forgot not every book has that. So for some reason I was like, when are the ghosts coming over? Other than reading this and having a great time though overall still, all I've been doing is working, surviving, and then playing Foundation. Alright, I have just finished it. And I'm gonna go set everything up for the live stream, but I finished it before that, so that means that I actually get to start something else today. I really enjoyed it. There were like a couple of reveals, which I really liked, because they just kept coming. And that's quite nice, because I feel like with somewhat predictable stuff, or, you know, like there was like an extra one at the end that I really enjoyed, because I wasn't even thinking we're gonna get anything extra, and so I appreciated that. I think it's probably gonna be like a 4-star, which is not too shabby, and it also very much as a main thing qualified for Art of Illusion. However, I haven't yet gone for Ordinary in that, so I technically don't have it, but once I passed Ordinary, I will also already have qualified. So maybe that should be my next read, which, as you can tell, is Rewitched. Do I feel like Rewitched? I don't feel like I feel like Rewitched yet. Oh no. I kind of maybe think I want to continue on the thriller form. Maybe go Hold Back the Tide? Perhaps, I don't know, but I do know that I need to go and set stuff up. Update you on my reading whilst I sit guard. Mainly so when Momo is done with his eating, which is going to be much sooner than Zeus is done with his eating, that he doesn't go and do a thievery because he loves to do that. But yesterday during the public sprints, I've put my remaining books on the TBR up for voting and let you decide what I read next, because then I don't have to. And you picked Rewitched, which I know in the last clip I said I'm not sure that I quite like feel in the mood for that. Well, I'm happy to report that I actually ended up being in the mood for that. So I've started this yesterday, read like 20 something pages during the sprints, and then I sat down afterwards in the evening and read like 50 more. So I'm currently right here on page 79, mid-chapter, because I got too sleepy. I'm really enjoying this. So far, this is much less romance focused than I thought it would. I don't know why I thought that. I just, for some reason, thought it would be much more romance based. But basically we follow a current day witch whose name is Belladonna, but she goes by Belle. I seem to be jumping between books with like Belly and Belle named main characters, so it's a little bit like murky in my head now because they all seem to be going by similar names, so that's a coinciding there. But with Belle, I really struggle to like remove Belle from like Beauty and the Beast kind of annotations in my head. But I wonder if that was maybe on purpose, because obviously that's also very bookish. And the main character here works in a bookstore called Lunar Books, who is run by this retired actress who is wanting to retire overall. She's, you know, of that age and also very, very rich from being an actress, I want to say. So she offers the opportunity for our main character to buy the bookshop off of her at like a very, very good rate. But our main character is a little bit low on confidence and not super self-assured and doesn't want to risk it because it's scary. Of course, it's a big investment and it's a lot of responsibility, but she basically ends up like running that bookstore either way. But because she does refuse, the owner puts her very corporate... Momo, no. Momo, I'm still here. I'm watching. You sit and wait. Mama. Yes, very corporate son from a corporate world with all of his corporate lingo and attitude towards women and like a very nasty habit of taking all of the credit of anything the girls do in the bookshop for himself while simultaneously shooting down any of the good ideas down because, you know, why wouldn't you want a cozy autumnal showcase by the window, but would definitely prefer your kind of techno bro business books to be displayed at this like cozy bookshelf front where the target demographic is absolutely not the businessy type. Corporate bros is not like in a trigger warning or like content warning list, but honestly at this stage I feel like it might as well be because oh my god, it's a hard read on that side, purposefully so. But anyway, our main character does have magic, but he's kind of like very low-key about it, only uses it when it's necessary. The magic is the type that kind of requires it to be like released a little bit because there's a build-up. Magic is actually finite, so there's a certain amount in the world, and so it is kind of very much... And she's about to turn 30 and she receives this visitor saying like, hey, we sent you a letter, why aren't you replying? She's confused because she's never found the letter, but she gets the letter now, and apparently there's this trial at the House of the Magic. And, it's like a whole trial that they put people who turned 30 through to make sure that they are worthy of vesseling this magic because, again, it is a finite source. They want to make sure that wherever that magic sits, that it deserves to be there. It's not like misused, it's not underused, which obviously raises some scary flags in our heads. because again, the main character was using it very mundanely and perhaps not paying enough attention to it, but she did not know because she didn't read her grimoire that this is going to be a thing. One thing that confused me is that like when she calls her mother, who is a whole mood and a half, she lives in this cabin, is basically nursing all the animals. It's very much like a forest nature witch, which adorable. And she's saying like, oh, we're not allowed to meddle, not allowed to tell you about this, but it is in the grimoire. But I was like, what if it's in the grimoire? You could have probably just like told them, because how are they gonna find out that that's where she learned? Like, you know, you could have nudged. Which the main character basically says, just doesn't mention that, like, you know, if it's already available to me, like, why, how come it's a secret? But anyway, so that's the whole plot beginning there. She has to go and submit to this trial. She is adamant that she, you know, wants to keep the magic and it's her birthright and carry through the generations, and equally terrified that she will now lose the magic because she didn't kind of have that as a priority. So overall, I'm really enjoying, obviously as someone who grew up with Charmed and some other magical stories that we're not to name here, but also practical magic and any type of like cozy, witchy type of situations. And it really does feel almost nostalgic, but it's very cozy, but at the same time there's things going on. It's relatable on all different sides of her insecurities, of her friendships. We focus a lot on the friendships so far, which I really love. If there is going to be romance later on, I'm happy that it's not immediate. I'm happy that it doesn't seem to be taking like a front seat of the story. I'm really enjoying the tone. It's humorous. I like the humor. I'm really enjoying it. I'm vibing with it. I'm having a good time. Again, it feels very cozy, but it feels very accessible. It feels relevant. It's an easy read, but it's like at times it's maybe a little bit too purple for my personal liking, but not to the point where it would influence me negatively. If anything, it's atmospheric, but to an agreeable level for me so far. So fingers crossed that that remains. And also we have a lot of dialogue, which, you know, guys, I normally really enjoy. That really balances stuff for me. I love when there's a lot of dialogue, and that's why I think I really enjoy urban settings, because we have that amount of space to explore these conversations, because we don't have to spend as much time establishing the world. But there's still fantasy and there's still magic, so we do have a level of that and learning a new system and learning how the magic works there, but because the world itself is not, you know. I obviously like a full fantasy setting as well. It just sometimes what book misses it for me when we focus too much on the world setting and spend too long on that. Personally, as a reader, that is just my preference, because I don't enjoy spending too much on the world building side of things when I'm reading a story. Overall, for myself, when it's an urban setting, almost a guarantee that I'm not gonna have that as an issue. So that always makes me a tiny bit more excited. But when they do that in a fully fantasy world and they do succeed at that balance, delicious. Anyway, this is delicious so far as well. It's very cozy, it's very beautifully written. I am having a really wonderful time, and also very much enjoying my decision to read this fully physically, because whilst again, that is the plus of the urban fantasy and that kind of contemporary fantasy setting, a lot of the time, the audiobook, and I have not tried the audiobook, so I'm not specifically talking about this one, but there's a reason why I've not tried the audiobook, and because those type of settings normally have a very specific type of narration where it leans a little bit too cutesy, it leans a little bit too performative in the contemporary manner. It often doesn't match exactly how I would read it to myself, and then there's this disconnect, and then I don't like it as much. So I'm very happy that I'm doing this physically for this one. So that does leave me without an audiobook, and I do have some cleaning to do later today, so I do wonder if I need to find something else that I could read it for. But Hold Back the Tide does not seem to have an audiobook, which would have been my primary suspect for this. And I don't want to necessarily try Not Quite Dead Yet as audio, because I'm just cautious of the same exact kind of thing, but because it is more thrillery, it could be okay. So I might have to sample that, because obviously audiobooks normally do include a little sampler of the narrator, and see how I feel, because it would be good to have an audiobook on the go as well, and maybe I'll just swap around. There is the What You're Looking For is in the library as well, but I worry about my attention span for that, or the kind of like retention, I guess, because I feel like it's going to have not the most linear plot, if the plot is even a thing there. there, and with that, it can go either way. It can go really well with an audiobook, or it can completely lose me and I'm gonna struggle to pay attention. So I might sample those two and see what happens. On a completely unrelated note to this though, but a little update for those who are sometimes going in and checking the World of Eldia website, which is the Readathon website for like all the, well not all, but like some of the information there. And that's where you find the temporary side quest as well that you can do alongside of your reading. It's very much like first come first serve type of situation. So in the tab of adventure board, you have this adventure board, aptly named, I know. Temporary side quests are put up. If you ever catch one, you can do it at whatever time you want, and then you get like extra points for that. The points are noted in the quest. Only the one central quest is the active one. The ones on the side are for decorative purposes. I'm mentioning this here because I know people ask that they cannot see what's written on the side ones. That's completely fine. They're just previous quests for like decoration purposes, but the one in the middle is the one that is active, and if you see it there, you can note it for yourself to do if you like to. But now under the same tab, you can also go into dragons or into pet sanctuary. And this is where you find a little description of each dragon that we rescued last semester. So it's like a nice little place for you to see all of the things that we have progressed and rescued. The information is obviously condensed there, so it's not like a full story, but it's enough to kind of understand and remember what the dragons were about. And similarly for the pet sanctuary, obviously this is still ongoing, so I'm adding this as we go and as we rescue successfully those pets, so I'm adding information there. But one thing in particular that is extra useful there on the website is the reveal section. It will have a little YouTube pictogram next to it, so this links you to that specific animal's announcement for like a full story, a full announcement bit, in case you want more details and, well, basically all of the details that were announced during the announcement. I am very excited to continue with this, and I'm having a wonderfully cozy time with this. Yesterday it was raining and I was just on the sofa, and it was such a mood. I'm kind of manifesting some more rain today because that would be beautiful. It is cloudy, so we have a chance, but it just looks like it will continue being moody rather than rainy, but hello, it's the all-nighter time, but I wanted to tell you what my day has been like, pretty much, because I feel like I've not caught up with you in a while. We woke up really early, well, really early for a Saturday, and then we head out to town because Logan had an eye appointment, so then I went there because there's a bookstore there. I went there to actually get Uncharmed, which is like a sister novel kind of thing. It's set in the same world, but I think it's like before the events of this, which, by the way, I am on page 274 for this. I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm really, like, if I don't finish this during the all-nighter, then I don't know what I'm doing with my life in general. So yeah, I went to get Unwitched, and unfortunately they didn't have that, so I came back with 4 other books. I wanted to get this one, which I've heard of a while back, actually. I think it's supposed to be like quite like a humorous type of commentary situation, but it is fiction, so I'm excited for that. But that one obviously was buy one get one half price, and that's how they get you. So I also got The Wedding People, which I have heard nothing but great things from people. This is a literary one, so it's a little bit nice to get that into the mix as well, because obviously everything else is very fantasy heavy. I don't know too much about it, nor do I really want to. I'm just happy to kind of get into it and see what happens. And then I got 2 hardcovers. So I got Ascension, which the trade cover is super foily and super nice, but this one is actually exclusive. Ugh, sticker, I hope that peels off okay. So it has these edges, but actually the coloration matches the first one of Fairylit really well, so it's kind of like matchy-matchy now. I wasn't actually 100% sure that I'm going to continue with this because I did really enjoy, I think, like the 60% of the first one, and then it went a little bit downhill for me. However, clearly I've decided that I will be doing that. This is how the end paper look like. Ooh! Oh, damn. Didn't realize it's going to be so specced up. Look at that. Look at that, Logan.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice. And it has a ribbon bookmark, which I also really appreciate. So I guess I will be reading the sequel to this as well. And I did enjoy it. It just like I didn't love where it kind of went. Help with that. But anyway, and the second hardback was Tusk Love, which is a book written, I want to say, oh no, what is this? Oh no, it's Peel. I don't know if it's actually written by one of them. Is it written by one of them or someone just got the rights to write in their world or something?
Well, let's see, it was written by. No, that's not any of the.
Okay, so someone maybe just got the rights to write from the cute on papers. But I think it is very kind of cozy, and clearly I'm in the cozy mood. Look underneath for Jester Lavore super cool bonus jacket image. Who's Jester Lavore?
It's one of the main characters in the Mighty Nine, played by Laura Bailey.
Oh, are these
The
characters
Blue
actually the main characters?
I don't, judging by the cover, no, I wouldn't think so.
Oh,
it's
I
a
see.
book,
Okay,
it's
so
a book
this is
set in
set in that world.
Alexandria.
Yeah.
That's the world that they-
Okay, this is the jacket underneath. Cute indeed. But yeah, we have a whole day of sprinting. We're starting in literally 25 minutes, so not far now. My face pain and also head pain is not fantastic, so I might take some medicine to just hopefully help me through so I can have an enjoyable time, but very excited to get some proper reading done. And hopefully I'll check back in with you at the very end of the day and I will let you know how far I am. I've decided to put my pages on the screen when I'm streaming so that I also can go back and see how much I've actually read. In Rewitched, I am on page 274 out of 405. I need to change that because that is not correct there. For Not Quite Dead, I literally only read the first chapter and I need to restart it because I could not focus that day that I read it. So I'm on page 23 out of 423. And I also started this one and I didn't even tell you about it, so it's really rude overall for me. But I'm on page 70 out of 247, but I will get back to you with my thoughts and whatnot a little bit later. I need to go and do some last bits and then get going. Feels weird to not have checked in throughout the entire all-nighter. However, we streamed up to the midnight yesterday, so it was like 10 hours, and at that point I just needed to get ready for bed because, you know, rest also somewhat important. But I would say that I was very successful personally. I think people also had fun, which also is just as important, but reading wise I think I was fairly successful. So I did end up finishing Rewitched. I really adored the story. I could maybe sense that this is a first, like a debut novel. With that being said, everything else I really enjoyed. We have, as I said, although now I don't know if I said it in the sprints or here, we have this elderly character who's also quite key, and these always, like the lonely elders, lonely, misunderstood, but gentle and very kind elders really get me in some stories for some reason, be that a TV or a book. Like there's something about it that really pulls at my heart, and I don't know if this is some sort of like societal thing that it's ingrained in me that I should look at, or because for some reason it's also primarily like older men, because I guess the niceties and whatnot are expected of elder women, which I don't like that I feel that way, you know what I mean? I really enjoyed it. It was like such a warm, perfect read going into autumn, and I'm also extremely excited to pick up Uncharmed. Also really love the names. They're just fantastic. Honestly, 10 out of 10 nameage of the books. So I think it's gonna be around like 4, maybe 4.5 stars even. Really exactly what I needed. Perfect time on my part as well, which also added to the enjoyment, but I really also wanted to take my time. I didn't want it to end. That barely happens these days, so kudos. Really enjoyed it. And then I moved on to, well, I did a tiny bit of listening because this is my only audiobook at the moment. A tiny, minuscule part of listening to this. I don't even know how many pages, not many, during, because we ordered food yesterday and that was the only time that I couldn't really like read physically. So that, I didn't even check. we're just not gonna count it, but it was there. And little thoughts on this one. They are, as I said, separate stories. So it is almost like a collection of short stories, but they're all tied in by the main character being unhappy or lacking something or needing to find themselves. And they're all tied by the library that at some point in time the character will visit. And there's this librarian who doesn't actually get into it a lot at all, but will recommend a book that is completely separate to what they're asking as part of their like recommended list, and then they will bring that book home, and somehow that book is exactly what they needed, and they will lead them to like finding themselves, or you know. Anyway, I'm only in the second story. I did actually really enjoy the first one. I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't love When the Coffee Gets Cold as much as everyone else did. There are some stories that really were fantastic, but overall I felt like it was a little bit repetitive and a little lackluster for me, which was somewhat disappointing. However, this one so far, which again I've only am like 1.5 maybe stories in, really enjoying it so far, or like enjoying it more, not like really enjoying it, but so far so good. And then Not Quite Dead Yet, I've completely like, well, I had 20 pages read before the all-nighter, and then I continued from there. So I'm happy to say that I'm also now am on page 232. However, I think last night I stopped and it was like page 77 or something. Then in bed I read a little bit more. And then technically it was 10 pages ago, so 222, when our timer ran out. So for the sake of counting for that, it's like 200 pages of this book. What was the page number of the other one? So it's about like 345 pages total, which is not too bad for me. Obviously, I was also taking breaks when I was hosting stuff to talk through a lot of the, obviously, like the sprint breaks. So that always like seeps into this. And also, I'm not the fastest reader, so there's also that. However, been really enjoying it. This one took me a little bit longer to get into, but I am currently very much into. I know some people really didn't like the main character's POV because we are from like inside her head, like this is our POV and she is a little bit insufferable. But honestly, I feel like, you know, sure, she is like rough around the edges and definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but a lot of the stuff I feel like is not justifiable but easily tracked back to where it's stemming from. And then especially when it comes to family, the rest of them, she's just a bit of a dick. But it honestly doesn't bother me all that much. As always with these books from Holly Jackson, I know exactly what I'm going in for, and so far this is also very much delivering, so I'm very happy about that because I was starting to doubt myself with all of the feedback coming from, because this is a book club book, so on Discord there were like very mixed opinions, and I think maybe it's just the author and like the kind of varied responses to their books, I don't know. But so far this is exactly what I needed. Like, it's the type of book where I really have to suspend my disbelief. I'm having a great time. I think I'm gonna continue reading this. I think I just will. So that is now caught up on my happenings, but I guess like Logan has some friends coming over and I think I might just like contain myself for part of that somewhere else and continue reading. I'm just having a good time. I feel very sedentary, however, so maybe I should drag myself outside, listen to an audiobook or something while I walk or something, but also chilly, so I don't know. I feel like I'm aging backwards. Not skin-wise, mind you. I wish, but no. The older I get, when I get overtired, I feel like a toddler when I'm like irritable. I do have some great news, is that yesterday after the all-nighter finished, what was I was like on 220 or something, right? That's what we said? We had some friends over, so I did end up like stopping and chatting with them and kind of reading alongside while they were playing games, and then later on I roped one of the friends to play Split Fiction with me. So I did spend a chunk of time doing that. However, literally the rest of my day was just being stuck into this book, and I finished it. I finished the entire book, again, in 2 days, which I feel like is exactly what I want Holly Jackson's books to be, and it delivered again. And so I'm happy to say that. I stayed too late into the night, which now me and Logan are paying for, because I think that is adding to the overtiredness today. Logan even came back from work early because he was just like, I couldn't sleep properly after, like I couldn't fall asleep after I finished this because of the ending. I'll insert a little clip on it because I thought I'm gonna like, oh, I'm not gonna put the camera up, so I'm just gonna film on my phone like my reactions, but then I couldn't say anything, so this was me processing. I'm not gonna say it any type of like spoilery way, but like literally I was like the shocked Pikachu face when exactly what they said is gonna happen actually happens, and I'm like, what do you mean? I'm corrupted by all of the other books. I just have trust issues big time. There are a couple of things, especially one plotline which involves like a mother, but not the main character's mother. I'm trying to be very vague, but also tell people who already read this, so I think you'll understand. Which I wish that I could tweak a little bit, just a little bit. So in my head, the canon is like a little bit different from what is written, but other than that, I really enjoyed it once again. But there's also a lot of layers to like different mysteries within this type of situation. There's a lot of like tiny subplots, which is very nice because even if you guess the main one, there's all the other kind of pieces that fall into place that could still be surprising or just nice to kind of see the full picture of it. So I really enjoyed it, basically. I think I liked it more than Rachel Price. That actually might be my least favorite of all of them. I still enjoyed it. Again, I still read it very quickly. I'm also very, very happy that I didn't go the audio route because I have heard from my Patreons that it's not the best. So I'm very happy that I just hadn't read this physically. It was a good time. I think it's probably on par for me with like 5 Survive. I still think I enjoyed Good Girl's Guide to Murder just like a little, but like it's very difficult to compare because that one is a trilogy and it has like its own kind of like thing. But this one is adult. It reads very similarly to her other books, I will say. I think I didn't really pay attention too much that it is adult. It's still similar tone. It's still a similar type of graphic level of detail. There's probably more cursing in this one, and the biggest difference is that we are not concerned with school stuff. So no high school stuff is in here. That's like the major difference. And honestly, to me, that is an improvement. But I did finish it, which leaves me completed the entire Psionics and Divinations shebang. So I got, this was my Distinguished, which I have now logged, and we're so close to 5 million. Also secured the Qualified by finishing the Ordinary of Art Evolution with Rewitched. And I've already passed Alchemy, so the only remaining bits I have is I need Ordinary and Spells and Incantations, which is Hold Back the Tide. Lore Ordinary, which is the What Are You Looking For, is in the library, which I am where I said that I was. Like, I'm in, I want to say chapter 2, but it's like the second story. Not quite like halfway there. I'm nearly finished. We only have like a week left or something like that, but like a week and a little bit. And I think that this is very promising. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing happens that I cannot finish it, but very glad with my progress. I'm very pleased. I'm also very pleased that I've read so much physically compared to my normal rounds. I think I rely on audiobook or combined like immersion reading much more than I did this time. And whilst that does, for my reading speed, slow me down, I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like I've missed it, and like, you know, I go through like seasons and moods as to what I want to, like how I want to experience the stories, and I feel like this was really needed for me. So the biggest win of them all is that just I experienced that. And I think that yesterday probably was like the best day for my screen time on my phone, as in it being very low. So that's also good. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a lovely week 2 and 3, because this is a combined one, and a very nice all-nighter. If you did miss the sprints, they are on the kind of live column of my channel. I'm gonna go de-stress or something, or maybe I'm hangry. I don't know. Something's stirring in the mood today. I think my health is getting me all annoyed. So I'm gonna do some parenting of my own for myself. Do let me know if you watched this far. We've not done this in a while. If you watched this far, leave me a brain emoji for this, so that I know that you stayed all the way here. Okay, I'm actually gonna go. I keep talking, I keep yapping. I did so well with the sprints, I feel like I didn't over-yapped. So clearly a pent-up yap is happening. You know what? See you next time. Bye.